This is the time for expansion online now, not contraction. And that online presence is going to be critical during this time. The sky is clearly falling, the world is absolutely coming to an end, and there's nothing you can do except give in to pandemic paralysis. While I'm here to tell you that is absolutely false. What's that quote from a semi-obscure Greek philosopher? You know, my favorite kind? And that quote is a motto that I personally live by. I always keep in the back of my mind that my world can be turned upside down at any moment, whether it's from a change in my local market here or from a global black swan event that is currently testing the very fabric of our societal structures. So here are 5 things that you can do right now to stay productive and to lessen the financial effect that this will have on you. Step number 1, increase your cold calling. It might feel counterintuitive, but this is actually a great time to be cold calling. One of the reasons for this is that most of the decision makers are now basically stuck at home. And because of this, they are a lot more reachable. And they might even be a bit more open towards your message. From a real estate perspective, the market is continually changing, and no one really knows what it will look like a few months from now. For that reason, a lot of people are starting to slightly panic a little bit and might be looking to sell either now or in the continuing months. Now, without sounding a bit too forward here, if the market does take a turn for the worst, a lot of people are going to end up wanting or needing to sell, and this might be the perfect time for you to start picking up some good deals. After all, even Warren Buffett made the majority of his fortune during times of recession, and that's something that he is very much well known for. What's that quote from him? Now, this might seem like a cliche by now, but it still very much remains the truth, and it doesn't matter whether you're in stocks, in real estate, or in anything else. So the main goal here would be to get yourself as educated as possible, and then when the time is right, you can enact that advice. So this time of sitting indoors with nothing much to do is actually a great time for agents and investors to start generating some warm leads from potential people looking to sell either now or for people that are looking to sell into the future. Step number 2, take advantage of lowering interest rates. Across the globe, countries are now trying to curb the immediate impact of this pandemic by cutting interest rates. This is good news overall at the moment because it's always good to see governments being as proactive as possible. The first is taking advantage of new loans with better rates, and the second is refinancing your existing home loans. The first one, learning with better rates. So this one is a bit of a double-edged sword because even though there will be loans available with better rates coming up, at this time also banks and lenders usually tighten up the reins a bit and make it a lot more difficult to get those loans. The reason for this is predominantly they want to try and rein in risk a bit and not expose themselves so much to lenders that won't be able to pay during this time, as there's a lot of economic instability running around at the moment, as we're currently seeing now and as we've seen in every recession before this one. But if you are able to take advantage of this in the current climate, you will definitely be able to reap those rewards in the long term. Number 2, refinancing existing loans. Now, there are 2 possible reasons for why you would want to refinance existing loans. Number 1 is to improve your rates, and the second one is to pull out equity out of the property. So the first one, you're essentially refinancing the home at a better rate. So what that means is replacing your old loan with a new one. So you take out a new one that covers the old remaining loan, and that one falls away, and you get a new loan but at a slightly better rate than you had. So this can have a bunch of potential positive effects. The main ones being it can lower your specific amount that you're paying at the moment, which obviously takes a bit of financial pressure off of you if you're busy, if you're under a bit of financial strain at the moment. And secondly, obviously it saves you a bunch of money over the course of the loan, because at a lower interest rate you will pay a lot less interest, with the remainder of the year. With the remainder of the loan, let's say you have 10 years or 15 years left on it. The second one is pulling out equity out of that property. And essentially what that means is you are refinancing that property at its current market value. So if you listen to my advice in my previous video, link in the description below, you would have bought a property for let's say $500, and after a few years, of having owned it, it went up in property value naturally, and let's say it's worth $700 now. Now you're refinancing that, and suddenly you've got an extra $200,000 of equity that wasn't there before. So in this case, you are refinancing it, so you're still going to be paying interest on that money, but it's essentially a line of credit that is now available to you that wasn't there before. And if you're lucky, it's also at a better interest rate than it was, which means you get a lot of value out of that, and now you can use that to either maybe buy another property, or if you're in a bit of a financial if you're in a bit of financial issues at the moment because of, let's say, what's happening in the world, you can use that line of credit to provide you with a bit of liquidity to keep you afloat, until things kind of even out again. Step number 3, follow up with potential leads and customers and stay consistent. We are unfortunately now in a time of panic, and it's more important now than ever to stay in touch with your potential leads and customers and just remain consistent for them. If you are in the real estate industry or in some other kind of service related industry, it is now more important than ever to keep in touch with your customers, keep a line of communication open with them, just to have some reassurance and to show them that you are there, you're not going anywhere. Even if you can't sell that person's house at the moment, or you can't do any showings because everyone is in lockdown, find some way to keep in touch with them, whether this means sending them some useful information every now and then, or keeping them up to date with what's happening in the market. This small gesture will go a long way with them during this kind of troubled time. Just like everyone at the moment, they might be panicked, they might be scared and uncertain, but just a little bit of assurance to let them know you won't be going anywhere and you're still there to assist them will go a very long way. The same can be done through the lens of an investor. If you haven't built up that relationship with a reliable agent that's going to do the above that I just spoke about, now's the time to start making some calls and finding that person perhaps. Or if you have the means and the confidence to start reaching out to sellers yourself by now, then now is also the time to start sending out those feelers. Even if people aren't under great pressure yet to sell, we never know what the landscape is going to look like in a few weeks to a few months from now, and people might just remember that call you gave them in a few months' time when they are in dire need to suddenly sell. Overall, people's business aren't going anywhere though, and as soon as the storm has passed, people will remember the people that were there providing a constant sense of stability for them, and that's kind of the goal of this step, to be the person that they can go to during the times of crisis, but also when the crisis is done and everything has gone back to normal. Now we get to perhaps the most important step, step number 4, and that is smashing the like button and clicking on that subscribe button. Now, I'm just joking, but step number 4 is almost as important as that. Step number 4, massively ramp up your online presence. If nothing else, now is the time to strengthen your marketing approach and make yourself as visible as possible online. While we are busy social distancing, we aren't able to network in real life, so everyone is heading online. Currently, almost all your customers are stuck inside their homes with nothing but their screen to help them pass the time. People are spending more time inside, and as a result, they're spending more time than ever on social media, even if it's just as a means to combat the boredom of lockdown. And I suspect the same is true for you. So there's no time that's better than now to start that newsletter, get onto Facebook or Instagram, or start that YouTube channel you've been meaning to, or whatever your preferred means of social media is. This is the time for expansion online now, not contraction. And that online presence is going to be critical during this time to make sure you remain visible to your customers and that they don't forget about you. And the 5th and final step, get creative. So here is another quote for you guys. Wait, or was it this one? You can never tell these days anymore. But regardless, let this be an opportunity for you to really get those creative juices flowing. Don't see this as something that's going to be crippling your current ventures. Use this time to maybe learn a skill that you never had the time to learn before, or maybe to sharpen up your current tool set. Strategize so that you know exactly how your business is going to move forward as soon as the lockdown is done, so that you will be ready and you can just hit the road running while other businesses and forms of industry are still spinning their wheels. So there you have it, guys. Those are my 5 steps for staying productive and making the most of your time during lockdown, and what you can do to really lessen the financial impact that this might have on you as much as possible. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I really appreciate it. If you found anything useful in the video at all, please consider giving me a thumbs up, and also let me know in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys there, and also it helps the video a lot. Also, please consider watching my first video that I made. That'll be here on the right somewhere. So have a look at that one, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Until next time, stay happy and wealthy.